he carries the spirit of Elijah, because he has no business being in prison till now. By a wave of hand, by fire, the doors would have opened. Ask your neighbor, do you know who you are? Ask another person, by predestination, do you know what you have been given? If you know who you are, you have no business being in prison. If you know who you are not a tenant, you are a landlord. If you know who you are, you have no business borrowing food and borrowing money from anybody. If you know what you carry by predestination, you will not be where you are at the mercy of the government, at the mercy of the community. If you know by predestination, you are the son of a king, you are the king's daughter, you are more than a conqueror. In your father's house there are many mansions, the streets of heaven are of gold. You have no business with infirmity. If you know who you are, then you will know that greater is the predestinated you than the he that the world is seeing now. Somebody shout, I enforce. Do you know who you are? By predestination, let me tell you quietly who you are so we can close. But is something coming out of you now? Are you feeling the real you? Somebody shout, this is not the real me. This is. Do you know who you are? By predestination, you are not a tenant. You are a landlord paying rent now. I need you to walk by the consciousness of who you are. By predestination, they thought they admitted a student. No, you are a graduate on admission. You graduated in eternity before they admitted you in reality. So when it looks like the money is not going to come for the fees, you don't worry yourself, because if you graduated in eternity, the money will come even on the last minute of the day. It's going to come. It's part of the plan. I know I am a graduate before I am admitted. Am I talking to somebody here? For the things that we see in the physical, they are temporal. No money in your bank now, it is temporal. No ring in your finger, it is temporal. If you walk in the consciousness of your predestination, every condition and situation you see in your transition, they are temporal. They cannot stop your way to your destination. You are not a girl looking for a man to marry. You are a wife a man is looking for. He that findeth a wife, not a girl. It is wife you find. Am I talking to somebody here? We know the girls, but when we see the wife, we know. Somebody say here. Are you feeling something coming out of you? Ladies and gentlemen, you are not what you go through. You are not your condition. You are not your situation. You are not even your location. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let your situation define your destination. You are your predestination. Walk in the consciousness of what God already prepared in eternity. And then whatever you see in your transition cannot hinder your breakthrough to your destination. Am I talking to somebody here? Jeremiah, before I formed thee in thy mother's womb, that is foundation. I knew thee, that is predestination. Before thou camest forth, that is foundation. I ordained thee and sanctified thee a prophet to the nation. You are not a local champion. You are a national champion before you were formed. So, if that is true, then your predestination is older than your foundation. So your foundation cannot stop your transition to your destination. Not even your father's house can stop you. If you live in the consciousness of your predestination, you are bigger than your father's child. You are bigger than your mother's house. You are not like the rest of them. You are the best of them. You are not their brother. You are their destiny helpers. Lift your hand and say, I know who I am. So, child of God, as we make an attempt to pray, they stayed in Israel, in Egypt for 400 years because of the lack of the consciousness of predestination. What God said 400 years elapsed into 410. They were still eating cucumber and garlic. It entered 420. They were still believing God instead of behaving God. The problem we have in the church is allowing the world to define spiritual terminologies. Because in the actual sense of it, in the Hebrew, the word believe means behave. If God has said it, behave it. Go beyond believing. Believing is the inward expression of the confidence. Behaving is the outward expression. And that is faith. Faith without works. Faith is behaving, not believing. If he has said it, act it. It is in behaving you become. You are more than this. Ghana is not your last bus stop. Ghana is part of the transition. Your father's house cannot stop you because you were created before you were formed. Before I formed the foundation, I knew the predestination. Your predestination is older than your foundation. Your foundation is too small. This is not your true age. You are older than this. Give me your two hands. Whatever God had prepared in eternity for you, 210 of you, I heard God speak to my left ear. If your amen is the loudest by enforcement, you will become it. You will become it. You will behave it. Amen. You will carry it. Amen. You will enter it. Amen. You will testify it. Amen. You will hear it. Amen. You will think it. Amen. You will enter it. Amen. You will travel it. Amen. Shout, I enforce. I enforce violently my predestination, into reality. Into reality. Now. 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 Clap your hands and express. Declare. This is not the all of me. I am greater than this. I am more than this. I am stronger than this. I am richer than this. I am more than this. Declare. Declare. I am more than this. This is not the all of me. My harvest has already been made. Salada, Ikolanda, Patola Basila, Elante, Kadimini Ato, Katalaba Sulabada. I have no business begging. I am a billionaire. I am not a tenant. I am a landlord. I am not single. I am married. I am forced now. Now. I am bigger than my father's house. I am bigger than my mother's house. I am stronger than my foundation. I am their destiny helper. I am not like the rest of them. I am the best of them. I am who God says I am. I have what God says I am. Declare it. Clap your hands and enforce it. Enforce your harvest. It's not about to be given. It has already been given. Be violent, be violent. Only the violent take it. Only the violent take it. Take it violently.
Zundari Kontobola, Ayandele, Ayantele, Ayantele,
Jagada bada da 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 bada. Ekoto, 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 ekoto. Erokoto bolokoto. Ekabada da da bada. Zekete, ekenekepete. Oroko bodo bodo bodoko. Papa 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 papa. Ekete de 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 de. Erokoto, eketeke, eketeke. I am more than this. This is not the all of me. I am greater than this. This is the transition. This is not my destination. Let there be a breakthrough. I break into my predestination now, now, now. The devil is a liar. I enforce my reality. I enforce my destiny. I enforce my harvest now, now. Pray, clap your hands, be violent, react, react. I am not barren. React. I am not childless. React. I am not poor. React. I am not broke. React. The world is my stage. React. I enforce my harvest. I enforce my harvest. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Put your hand on your belly. Give me some volume. Put your hand on your belly. Hear me. 400 years, they did not react. They were still at ease. Psychedelic Christianity. 410, 420, they were still there. Pastor Steve, when it entered 430, when boys became fathers, they knew they overstayed their welcome. They knew the song was not complete. God said it, and I believe it, and that settles it. Not complete. God said it, and I believe it, and I enforce it. That settles it. That's the completion of the song. When it got to 430, they reacted. The Bible says they lifted up their voice and they cried out. And God heard them. And God cried into the ears of Moses, their helper. I have heard their voice. I have seen their pain. I have come down to deliver them. Until they cried, God did not hear. Every sentimental cry you are crying, you know they have been crying since when the tax masters were flogging them. That is not the kind of cry God hears. Any cry that is not tied to purpose or predestination, God cannot hear. When God sent Moses, things began to change. But still, they didn't come out, man of God. Their predestination was still not enforced. Number one, they cry out. So number one way to enforce your predestination, do what? Cry out. Do what? Do what? Do what? If you are too casual, you will end up a casualty. I don't mean psychedelic prayer. Oh Lord, my Father, I give you praise. Cry out means, oh God, no be the prophecy, be this so. I don't mean that small prayer you pray and then you shift your ear. Like, seriously? Oh God, this is not what you said, oh. Cry out. Ask, it shall be given. Knock. That is reaction. That's enforcement. That's enforcement by force. Cry out. When they cry out, God sent the helper. But all that Moses did, nothing happened. Number two, until they sacrificed their fattest calf. Two things alone they did as personal responsibility that enforced their predestination and their prophecy. They cried out on top of a sacrifice. Hear me. These are the only two things that have bearings in the realms of the spirit. Don't be deceived. Whether in the kingdom of light are in the kingdom of darkness, those two things alone. Every other thing is a supplement. Thank God you are singing in the choir. It strengthens your relationship with God. It has nothing to do with your condition. You will sing in the choir and go to heaven like Lazarus. You will still make heaven. But if you enter heaven like Abraham, the status is not the same. One person must cry out and sacrifice to Melchizedek. Whether in the kingdom of light or darkness, these are the only two things that have bearings. Ask a native doctor. He can't do anything apart from enchanting on top of your sacrifice. Ask a diviner. Ask a soothsayer. The charm you see is not the material. It's a calculated spoken word on the material by a sacrifice. That is charm. Until they sacrificed their fattest calf, God knew they were serious, because wherever your treasure is, there your heart is. All this, your tears, you are crying and crying. Your tears cannot move God. Genevieve and Ransonnois can cry more than you. They do it for a living. It is when God touches your treasure that he sees your heart. Abraham, you are my friend. Sacrifice Isaac. Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac. God says, stop! Now I know that thou feared me. All this while I didn't confirm it, because it is in the place of sacrifice that contenders are separated from pretenders. Only two things that have bearings in the realms of the spirit. And those are the two things that enforces into reality what was done in eternity. When you cry out on top of your sacrifice, in heaven and on earth and beneath the earth is the same principle. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, sacrifice, and the word. Please don't argue my preaching. Even in heaven, those two things. So, ladies and gentlemen, until they did those two things, their prophecy came to pass. Their harvest came to pass. Hear me, hear me. What you call harvest is already done in eternity, but it does not have time. Eternity means out of time. Put your hand on your head. Eternity means what? Whatever God does, he doesn't do it in time. God lives in eternity. So he finished your life in eternity. So time does not have anything to do with. That is why God has finished the project. He rested. It has to manifest in time for it to show in reality. Whatever God has done, he did it in eternity, outside time. So that is why the Bible said, as long as the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, not harvest time. Harvest does not have time. Seed time and harvest shall not cease. Harvest is already in eternity. It is your seed that gives time to it in reality. It is your seed that gives your harvest calendar. Seed time and harvest never cease. You have cried out now. Hear me. There are 24 of you under the sound of my voice. God spoke to my right ear, and on the flight coming, 24 of you, he said 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days from now, your predestination will find full expression in your reality and your life. 24 of you that can shout an enforcement amen, receive it now. 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 I don't know where life has kept you, but I heard him say 24. of you under the sound of my voice by the grace of our Papa. 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days from now, by this harvest atmosphere, give me my voice. Hear me. Not everybody. 24 I heard. You can force yourself into that list, even if you were not in the list. Jacob was not the firstborn, but when the opportunity came, he meandered and forced himself into it. He became. The prayer should have been the God of Isaac, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. But because a man sees opportunity, it is now the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You may not have been in the list, but you can enforce yourself into it. 24 of you under the sound of my voice. I don't know who you are, but by your crying out and by the release of your sacrifice this evening, 24 of you, I declare, if your amen is the loudest and the longest, I enforce your destiny. I enforce your harvest. I enforce your harvest. I enforce your harvest. Let me hear that amen said 3 times. Let me hear that amen like you believe. Say, oh God, this is not the real me. I enforce my harvest now. Hear me. Hear me. Joshua chapter 1 verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart from thy mouth. Thou shalt meditate in therein day and night, that thou mayest to do what? Observe. That thou, you that observe, you that heard, thou shalt make thy way what? Prosperous. And thou shalt have. Everything I have preached has to do with thou taking personal responsibility. Not the pastor. You. I need 24 people who are heartless and are saying, this is not my level. Under this atmosphere and grace, I must enforce. The world must see who I am. This is not me. I must enforce my harvest. 24 people who are heartless. When I mean heartless, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good. The good is already there. It takes people who have heart. You can't be great until you are a mafia. The reason why you are poor is not because the economy is bad. It's because your heart capacity is low. Guard your heart with all diligence, for that, for it proceeded the issues. The issues of your life is directly proportional to the condition of your heart. What your heart cannot accommodate, your hand cannot carry. Where you can arrive in your heart, your body will eventually get there. It is the emptiness of your heart that sponsors the emptiness of your account. It is your heart account that fills your bank account. If you don't have mind, you can't carry money. Father, promote me, lift me. Do you have the heart to be lifted? Can you sit there? The higher your level, the higher the devil. It takes heart to command money. There's some kind of money I can give to you right now, and you will have sleepless night. The reason is not because a thief will come. Your heart is too small to carry it. It is your money, but you can't even trust the bank. 24 heartless people that say, anoint me and give me a mantle that will enforce my predestination. God told me 21 days from now, whatever he has given to you in eternity is going to find expression in reality. You will take 1,000.
Get ready for the EVM International Conference and Supernatural Field Washing Service. Theme: The Great Harvest. Date is from Monday 25th of November to Sunday 1st of December 2019, and the time is 6 p.m. each night. The venue is Grace Cathedral behind the Junction Mall along TEMA Road, Accra. Your host is Reverend and Wendy E. Moses. Guest ministers, Apostle Itoro Etefia.
You are more than this. You are older than this. You are richer than this. I came to tell you that you are greater than this.
Prophet Jose Kofi.
Whatever has limited you over the years come to an end today. Amen.
Ministering in songs, Mr. Sean Elliott and Sam Sachs from Nigeria. Date is from Monday 25th of November to Sunday 1st of December 2019. And the time is 6 p.m. each night. For further inquiries, please call the numbers on your screen. Get ready for the EVM International Conference and Supernatural Field Washing Service. Theme: The Great Harvest. Date is from Monday 25th of November to Sunday 1st of December 2019. And the time is 6 p.m. each night. The venue is Grace Cathedral behind the Junction Mall along TEMA Road, Accra. Your host is Reverend and Wendy E.U. Moses. Guest ministers, Apostle Itoro Etefia.
You are more than this. You are older than this. You are richer than this. I came to tell you that you are greater than this.
Prophet Jose Kofi.
Whatever has limited you over the years come to an end today. Amen.
Ministering in songs, Mr. Sean Elliott and Sam Sachs from Nigeria. Date is from Monday 25th of November to Sunday 1st of December 2019. And the time is 6 p.m. each night. For further inquiries, please call the numbers on your screen. Get ready.
Any man that has been appointed to be a blessing to you, in the name of Jesus, may that person be released to you. Every power diverting good people from you, may that power be roasted. Somebody shout, yeah!